A U.S. and a Canadian warship transited the Taiwan Strait on Wednesday night, the U.S. Navy announced, in a move that's likely to provoke protest from Beijing. This was the second time in less than 2 months naval ships from the U.S. and Canada have made such a maneuver, known as a Freedom of Navigation Operation, FONOP. Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer USS Rafael Peralta, DDG-115, and Royal Canadian Navy Halifax-class frigate HMCS Ottawa, FFH-341, conducted a routine Taiwan Strait transit November 1st, local time, said the U.S. 7th Fleet in a statement. The Yokosuka, Japan-based fleet said that the transit was conducted through waters where high seas freedoms of navigation and overflight apply in accordance with international law. The ships transited through a corridor in the strait that is beyond the territorial sea of any coastal state, it said. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense confirmed that the two vessels sailed from south to north through the Taiwan Strait last night. The ministry said it had full control over the situation, which it described as normal. The 7th Fleet added that the transit of the two ships was unremarkable, unprovocative, and consistent with international law. Cooperation like this represents the centerpiece of our approach to a secure and prosperous region where aircraft and ships of all nations may fly, sail, and operate anywhere international law allows, it said. The last time U.S. and Canadian navies conducted a FONOP was on September 9, 2023, with the participation of the USS Ralph Johnson and the HMCS Ottawa. China's Military of Defense said Thursday it followed and monitored the two ships' transit and that it remains on high alert to resolutely safeguard national sovereignty and regional peace and stability. American destroyers have made 6 Taiwan Strait transits since January and began describing them as routine. Canadian warships joined 3 of them. The relationship between Ottawa and Beijing has been under strain over a number of issues. In October, Canada accused China's military of conducting a dangerous and reckless interception of a Canadian surveillance aircraft flying over the East China Sea. Earlier this week, Ottawa announced that it will ban the Chinese app WeChat on all government devices, citing security concerns. In recent months, the Chinese Coast Guard and Beijing's maritime militia have used dangerous maneuvers to block and harass the Philippine Coast Guard and armed forces of the Philippines from conducting resupply missions to the BRP Sierra Madre in Ionjin Shoal. An October 22nd collision between 2 of the country's Coast Guard vessels is just the latest incident of maritime confrontation. As tensions rise, the stakes are high and could draw in the United States, which has a mutual defense treaty with the Philippines and other naval powers. Surely understanding the gravity of the situation, China has relied on so-called gray zone tactics to avoid the perception that it is committing acts of war and to assert control over its maritime claims in the South China Sea, also known as the West Philippine Sea. The definition and understanding of what constitutes gray zone activities remains vague, as the term itself implies. These subversive actions typically fall below the threshold of armed conflict and may not necessarily be considered acts of war, but nonetheless achieve the objective of asserting control over an area. For example, in the years leading to and after the 2016 arbitral ruling of the Permanent Court of Arbitration, PCA, in favor of the Philippines, China relied on a range of maritime gray zone tactics to advance its interests in the seas. These actions include building artificial islands and military installations in the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, relying on its maritime militia to chase Filipino fisherfolk away from their traditional fishing grounds, and using military-grade lasers and water cannons to disrupt resupply missions. In this context, categorizing activities as operating in the gray zone allows the perpetrators the advantage of amorphousness and ambiguity to reach their goals. While there is significant international attention on the issue and, to a certain extent, gray zone activities are not undetected, the fact that many such tactics are lumped together under the umbrella term gray zone precludes the identifying appropriate measures to combat them. This game of shadows can only be addressed when enough light is shone upon it.